Solitaire Rose Radio, episode 41. Interview with cosplayer Linden Palmer. It's been a while since I've done an interview, and mostly because I see a lot of other comic book podcasts do a lot of interviews. And I also, when I do an interview, I want it to be with somebody who I know or someone I think has a good story. And Linden has a story I find very interesting because I know very little about cosplay. I know that it existed back when I first started going to conventions, but it was really sort of rare. The first convention I went to was a creation convention in Chicago, Illinois. And there was nobody in costume. I knew that people dressed up for science fiction conventions and Star Trek conventions, but comic conventions, there were a couple of kind of famous cosplayers. Wendy Peeney, who went on to do ElfQuest, would dress up like Red Sonja a lot. And then there was the really creepy girl who Warren Publishing pushed, who dressed in really sexy, skimpy outfits and was underage, and that whole story seemed very skeevy, even back then. I went to the Chicago Comic Convention in '84 and '85, and the only people in costume that I remember were ones who were being paid by DC or Marvel to be there in costume. And even at the Minnesota convention I was involved with, cosplaying really didn't take off till like around 2000. So I wanted to find out more about cosplaying, and when I worked with Linden at the movie theater, I learned about the anime convention world and how it was very different from the comic book world that I was a part of. Now, the audio quality on this is kind of mixed. We did this at a coffee house rather than over Skype or anything, and we set my laptop up, used the microphone that I used on the very earliest episodes of Crazy Comics and Stories. So there are parts where we're a little far back from the microphone and it sounds a little tinny. But I think the sound quality evens out, but the conversation is very good, and I hope you enjoy the conversation. See, the problem with the Pokemon shows and things like that is you knew they'd never get to the end.
Yeah. Duh.
I'm so in love with One Piece.
Yeah?
But I know they're never gonna get to the pirate's treasure.
Like, how many chapters are out of that now? It's like over 500, I think?
Oh, I know that the TV series is over 700 episodes.
Oh, well, that's believable.
And still running.
Yep. I know a lot of my friends are really into One Piece. They're into the pirates. So, I haven't touched it yet because, well, 700 episodes is a bit daunting.
Well, I started watching it when Cartoon Network started running it.
Did you? How was that?
Well, when they first had it, I forget who it was with, but I guess they edited the hell out of it.
It was 4Kids.
Okay.
4Kids. They're known for their editing now.
And now it's in Adult Swim, so they run it at 1 in the morning, so Sanjay can smoke.
Oh!
And we get the fan service of Nami, which I'm always happy about.
Wow. You gotta appreciate it when it's given.
I'm in deep abiding love with Nami.
I don't even know who Nami is.
The redhead.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Well, of course it's you. Right, okay. Very good. I'm glad.
Well, like you shouldn't have guessed that.
I know, like, I should have known.
So, when I was younger, Japanese animation, it kind of existed, but we really didn't know it was Japanese animation, because there was Astro Boy, which only showed on the UHF channels. So anyway, anime, there wasn't a lot of it, and I first kind of became aware of it through comics, of course, because there was Robotech. Now, of course, we couldn't see it because I lived in the middle of nowhere, but Kamiko did an adaptation of it.
Okay.
No, they didn't import the Japanese comics. It's, oh, no, we're going to have American people adapt each episode in the Japanese style, but Americanized.
So they remade it. kind of like what America's been doing with all the BBC shows recently.
Except it was the comic doing that.
Yeah, so the comic was taking the show.
And doing an adaptation.
Yeah.
So it was standard American layout, but big eyes. And they adapted it as 3 different series running at the same time. Mm-hmm. And then we got actual Japanese comics everywhere when Lone Wolf and Cub, Legend of Kamui, I forget what the other ones were. But then Viz showed up and they started doing the comics. Yeah. Lum, I loved Lum. I don't remember all the ones at the beginning, but Lone Wolf and Cub was where I went, oh, this is brilliant.
I think in the beginning there was Viz, there was Tokyo Pop, and Dark Horse.
Dark Horse and First Comics were the first 2 to do them.
Yeah.
And then Viz came along late. Viz actually was licensing through Dark Horse and then spun off on their own. Tokyo Pop came like mid-90s. And you always heard that they were a real sketchy company.
Yeah, well, considering I was born in 1990, mid-90s is kind of,
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they were sketchy and they went down pretty fast. So the only one of Tokyo Pop that's still around is actually in Germany. I did not know there was one still surviving, but they thrive there.
There's a rumor that they are coming back.
Oh, no.
But the anime itself, we didn't get our hands on it till, I guess, there was tape trading and stuff, but I didn't actually see it in stores till the late 80s.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to ask to start this was, where did you first see anime? Born in 1990.
Well, my first brush was when I was 5 years old, in 1995. And I was at the shoe store, and there was a pair of Sailor Moon shoes.
Oh.
And I was very confused, but there were cats on them, so I was sold immediately.
Okay.
And then, like, a couple years later, Sailor Moon was still on. It was on the TV, and I saw it, and I watched that. And then there was, like, Dragon Ball Z started coming on, and Gundam Wing, and then, I think, Cardcaptor Sakura or something. And at that point, I didn't know what it was, and I thought it was still American-based, because I was small-minded and a small child. And when I first started actually falling into the anime manga scene, that was when my brother brought home manga that he borrowed from a friend, which was Slayers and Inuyasha, I think.
Oh.
And it was look at these pretty people doing cool shit, fighting, and the explosions, and I was sold immediately.
Inuyasha was really good. I like anything that, I'll butcher her name, Rumiko Takahashi?
Rumiko Takahashi sounds about right.
Yeah. I love anything she does. I always thought it was a shame that Lum didn't do well in the U.S.
Yeah.
Because, they started it as a comic and then it kept stopping and starting and stopping and starting. So by the time it started up again, you're like, I vaguely remember where they were in the story.
Yeah.
What was the one she did about the apartment building?
The apartment
Where the person who owned the apartment building was a widow, and this young student moves in, and he's got a crush on her, and everybody in the building's nutty in some way.
Was that Urusei Yatsura? I don't
I
think
wouldn't
so.
know the Japanese name.
I think that one's more aliens, though, so I'm not sure. I never saw that one.
Oh, that one's... I don't even know if there was an anime, but I read that manga all the way through.
Uh-huh.
And so, when you were a kid, it was kind of on Cartoon Network a lot, and you didn't differentiate until you saw the manga.
Yeah, exactly.
And when did it kind of become that moment where you went, oh, these are my people?
Probably middle school. That was around the time when the brother was bringing home the manga, and then we started going to the video stores and renting the VHSs.
Okay.
And just, like, normal cartoons were fine, but they weren't that. But it's probably because the anime was more geared towards the slightly older audiences, and they had, like, the kind of humor that I was into. So, how old am I in middle school? Teeny bopper.
Okay.
Yeah. So 12, 13, 14, right
All
around
right.
there.
And I imagine there were you kind of gravitated toward a group that liked the same thing.
Not quite. I purposefully drew them into me because in elementary school I was friends with all of the popular kids, and that didn't go well because they were assholes, and then I decided to tell them that, and I was honest.
Yeah, that's never a good idea.
I was idealistic and hoping they'd change. It didn't happen. So, middle school, new school, fresh start, I brought my manga to class, and I would, like, obtusely read it, like very much like arms held out straight, like
Oh,
throwing the
okay.
manga out. And I waited for them because there would be like people who would like slowly lean over and look at me, or be like, "That's kind of cool," or I watched that, and get little whispers and things. And I made friends with 5 people, and then I found out that those 5 people were already friends.
Okay.
So I just kind of lured them all into me, not going to them.
All right.
Yeah.
And then there was a huge explosion in anime. Cartoon Network, the Toonami block.
Yep.
That seems to really be where a lot of people have kind of latched on.
Mm-hmm.
And out of those, what was your favorite show at the time?
I'll call that a gateway drug, but my favorite show at the time was Tenchi Muyo.
Okay, yep.
Yep, you know that one?
Yep, No Time for Tenchi.
Yep.
That was the translated manga version.
Uh-huh.
Again, didn't know there was an anime of it because I had a job.
Oh, well, that's fair. I'd sneak out, stay up late, and watch TV when I'm not supposed to. There's Tenchi Muyo, Tenchi Universe, and then Tenchi in Tokyo. And then there was movies, and once more I would sneak out of the house, bike all the way to the movie store, and then rent movies behind my parents' back.
Oh.
Yeah.
So other kids were sneaking out of the house to get high, do drugs, have sex. You were sneaking out to
Be a nerd?
rent cartoons.
Yep, that was me.
All right.
I'm a rebel. I also would sneak out to buy Pokemon cards, but that's because they were viewed as a waste of my time and money.
Oh, okay. And you didn't tell them about how much money you could make, trading and selling and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
which
no.
is the lie all us comic fans would tell our parents.
Oh, of course.
Don't throw them away. Some of them are worth a lot of money. And then they'd see the story in the paper that the first appearance of Superman sold for thousands of dollars, and they'd kind of go, "Oh, okay."
Oh, child bank. Perfect.
Never mind that comic at the time was like 40 years old, and there were only like 12 of them.
Oh, yeah, right.
Meanwhile, with the Pokemon cards, there were, a kajillion?
Give or take a Kerjillion. If you sold them early on, though, you could get, like, up to 100 of the rare ones, but, they definitely lost that over time. And then kids started laminating them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a problem.
See, at the comic shop, we had those, and we had magic cards.
Yep, Magic the Gathering.
And the magic cards exploded because the grown-ups were buying them.
Oh, yeah.
But it was just kids buying the Pokemon cards, and they'd play the game.
Uh-huh.
And at first, we didn't get into it because we got burned on Pogs.
Oh, Pogs? I remember Pogs.
Now, did you ever play Pogs?
Yeah, no, I actually played Pogs.
Okay, I've now met 2 people
I
who
was
played Pogs.
I was a sad child hiding in my parents' basement. I wasn't allowed to leave, that's why I snuck out and played Pogs.
It was one of those things where they showed up and it was, oh, here's how you play it. And people would buy them, and we'd say, so when do you play? Oh, we don't play.
Yeah, we collect.
Yeah.
No, I actually played. It was only me and my brother. I don't think I knew anyone else who played, so you have a very fair point there.
Okay. So now your brother would buy the manga.
Yes.
You'd watch the anime. Did you ever start buying the manga yourself, or was
Yes,
that too expensive?
No, I did. I would save up allowance or ask really nicely, very loudly, very longly until somebody caved.
Now, were these the comics or the smaller trades that came later?
It would be the smaller trades that came later.
Okay.
I was there in the trades. I was there when they were still reading like American style, not right to left, but still left to right. So I have a bunch of thick, fat ones that are like really old. But,
Okay.
yeah,
Because I remember when Viz started, they had 32 and 48-page comic books.
Yeah.
And then, okay, this chapter is over.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to collect it as a book, which is how American comics did.
Yep.
But then eventually, they just, we're just putting them in books.
Yep, that's when I joined. They were already in books, and it was simple, and still $10, $12, and still more than my parents wanted to pay, but they'll pay to shut the child up, so
Okay.
I lucked out.
So as you're getting into all this stuff, and it's kind of becoming, at what point did you learn about conventions?
Freshman year of high school. It was my photography teacher was like, hey, you're always reading these books, right? I found this flyer for this convention, and you should go. And I was like, my people, damn Skippy, I want to go.
Which convention was
It
it?
was Anime Detour 2006, I think?
Okay.
Maybe 2005, really old. The con was Anime Detour, Attack of the Catgirl.
Okay.
Yep.
So you didn't know about the comic conventions or any of the others. It hadn't penetrated until you got that flyer.
Yep, exactly. I didn't even know there was a gathering of these nerds until that flyer, and I was like, yep, I'm there. I don't care if anyone else goes, I will be there. And then my teacher said, I hear they dress up. And then I said, shit. And I couldn't be underdressed. So, at that point, I pleaded with my stepmother, we need to go buy fabric.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So tell me about that process. First off, at that age, you're deciding you're going to dress up.
Yep.
Because you heard that's what other people do.
I figured that's what everyone did at the convention.
Okay.
If I went in my fucking t-shirt and jeans, it would just be no. So I was like, we gotta go now. So $40 was spent in the fabric store as I pleaded with my stepmother, who can sew. And I think she was, trying to be nice to the stepkids. So she was helping. I had picked out a character from one of my most recent books I was into.
Okay, and what one? What character?
That was Akito Soma from Fruits Basket.
Okay.
So that one's a teenage drama.
Yep, I remember when there was a time when a new book of that would come out and it would be the best-selling graphic novel.
Yes.
And I think I was still reviewing the sales charts at the time. And by then I'd kind of tapped out of the manga because it was
everywhere.
too much.
There's so much. Where do you start? Where do you...
And it was, okay, it's Fruits Basket. It's, I don't know, a comic about bananas and strawberries.
No. The Chinese zodiac. And crying. I'm pretty sure it's just about crying.
Well, yeah.
But, any good drama. So, we got the fabric. I got all the wrong kinds of fabric. I got, crushed velvet, but it was the right color. So I had no knowledge of fabrics whatsoever. I matched up the non-stretchies with the stretchies, and it was a mess. But we sewed it, and it worked. I didn't know about wigs, so I cut and dyed my hair, and it was fine.
and what color was the hair?
Oh, it was black, so it wasn't anything
okay,
obtrusive.
so it's not crazy.
Yeah, so I didn't get fired from my job. It was fine.
So you had a job already?
Yes, I was working at the theater.
So when did you start there?
That I started in December of 2006.
Okay.
Yep.
So by the time I got there, you were a seasoned pro.
Oh yes, I was a professional popcorn sweeper.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I was such a professional, I conned my way out of concessions, and I'm damn proud of that, okay? I pretended to suck so they wouldn't schedule me there.
There you go.
Genius.
So you go in your first costume.
Yes.
And I've often talked about the first time I went into a comic book store.
Mm-hmm.
I really was like, okay, I have now entered the promised land. And it was a tiny little store that also had videotapes and stuff. And, I think back on it now, and it was a rat trap.
It was like a closet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and it was, just dirty, and the people behind the counter were obnoxious jerks. But
when the first time you go in, it's like Mecca.
I want to be buried here.
Yes.
So you walk into the convention. First off, were you overwhelmed by the size?
I was. Like you said, though, it was kind of like a closet convention, because at this point, the detour was tiny. But, I walked in, and there was this huge line for people to pick up their badges, and almost every one of them were in costume. And that's an exaggeration, because not a lot of them were. I'd say about 60%, but it seemed like all of them were wearing something crazy and cool.
Okay.
I was overwhelmed. It was awesome.
And so, now, I haven't been to an anime convention, but I know conventions are very different. Comic book conventions, you're going there to meet the creators and to buy shit.
Buy shit, meet the creators, get autographs, all that fun jazz.
At an anime convention, well, there's also the science fiction conventions, which are to go and listen to panels and drink heavily and probably have sex with anything that moves.
Probably, yeah.
So,
generally speaking.
What are anime conventions like?
Well, it is you meet a lot of the voice actors and you meet some of the creators if you go to the bigger ones, like SoccerCon in Washington. But it's more to meet people in your community, because you meet everybody and they're all dressed up as their characters, so you can see what they're interested in, and hey, I like that thing too, we should talk. And then there's the panels, but I never go for the panels, so I can't really voice that.
Okay.
I'm never interested. But some of them have some good workshop panels on how to make, how to do, what's the best here and there. Some discussion panels. And then the ones I'm on are the acting improv ones.
Yeah, that I'm really interested in.
Okay.
So remind me, we'll get back to that.
Okay.
But it's your first time there, and you're meeting all these people. I wanted to ask, how much did the internet play a part in this? Were you internet savvy at the time? Were you not on the internet that much?
I was on the internet, but my father was the one at the internet and not my mom. So I only had it 4 days out of the month. So the internet was like the promised land to me. So I had been on there briefly. We exchanged emails with a couple of people. Because at this point I still didn't have a cell phone. So.
Okay. And you didn't know how to steal
anything yet.
No, not at all. I did not know how to pirate. I was unfamiliar with the word besides Johnny Depp and Pirates of the Caribbean. So, there was that. Innocent youth.
One of the other things I remember from early manga and anime especially were the fan versions of stuff that hadn't come here officially yet. The scanlations and the fan translations.
The fan subs, yeah.
Did you know about those before the convention?
I did not before the convention.
And once you got to the convention, I imagine they were all over the hubster tables.
Yes, it's true. I was made aware, like, oh, we're reading this thing. Oh, it's not out in America yet. And I was like, well, how are you reading it? And they're like, well, I have this website. And I was like, another way to eat up my father's bandwidth perfectly. Give it to me.
Now, did you dive into that stuff, or did you stick with the stuff that was easier to get?
I stuck with the stuff that was easier to get until I got a computer in my own home, which I don't remember when that was. It was a while ago. And, of course, it came from my father, but we went to my mother's house, so she was pissed livid. But it was nice because I had it. But once I did get the computer, then I was immediately reading manga. And I hadn't downloaded anime yet because I heard about them viruses, and I was a scared child.
Okay.
Again, the innocence of youth.
Yes.
I was a fool. So my friends would actually download anime. They'd burn them to a disc for me, and then I'd bring them home, and I'd watch them on my computer. So my friend would illegally download them. And then hook me up.
There you go.
So I had a dealer.
First one's free.
So I'm sneaking out of the house for anime, and now I'm getting adult anime, and it was perfectly fine.
And it's one of those things, if your parents catch you, it's like, I don't want you sneaking out of the house for cartoons and books.
Yeah,
okay,
right.
I have no authority.
Yeah, at one point I know my mom was yelling at me and saying how I was a terrible child. I was like, well, at least I'm not doing meth. And then she stopped. I was like, well, you're not wrong. I'm like, I'm not getting drunk. What? Yeah.
You're not pregnant.
I'm not pregnant. I haven't impregnated anyone. This is fine.
I still remember there was a time when I was a teenager, I borrowed the car without permission to go up to buy comics, and my father was furious.
Oh.
And then, 2 days later, he came to me and he sat down and he apologized, saying, yeah, I talked to some of the people at work, and their kids are taking the car and buying liquor and smashing it up and going out and getting girls pregnant. You're buying funny books. I don't think I have that big a problem.
Yeah, see, exactly. And then my mom said, well, I guess since you're doing better than when I was your age, this is fine.
Okay.
Thanks, Mom.
So at the convention, you meet all these people, and first off, you're probably seeing costumes that make yours look like, you had no idea what you were doing.
Mine was pretty much like a robe. It was like a very bland kimono. So it was a robe. And then looking at all this suits of armor or really anything else, ninjas wandering around, even those were impressive to me. So
now, did you start to network here? Because, you had your 5 friends that you were into this stuff with. After the convention, did it, open up a whole new world of, here are all these contacts, or did you kind of keep your own friends?
The first year I kept my own friends. We, chatted with other people, but I didn't, nothing long-lasting the first time. It was the second time, and then I started meeting more people. And it was not actually at the convention, but there was a dead dog party for the convention. So
okay, you're going to have to explain that.
That's the party after the convention, so post-convention convention. So it's
Okay.
one day we met in a park in Minneapolis, and there was a bunch of us. So it was 50, 60, 70, nothing like the actual cap of the convention, but we all showed up in costume, and there was food, and we just bummed around.
Okay.
And that is when I started making friends, and making sure I kept them, and started networking, and getting groups together for costumes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, after the first convention, did the costume light kind of go on, and where did you go from their costume?
I did. The light definitely came on, but from there I was like, well, I put my stepmother through hell with sewing. I don't want to do that again. So I went online and actually bought one, and I regret everything. It was from China. It took too long to come, and it was wrong. And the colors were wrong, and it was difficult to dye to the correct colors. So, there was that.
And you said you were a different character at that point.
Yeah, I was a different character at that point.
It's who are you supposed to be? I'm the alternate universe version of this character.
The AU version of Alan Walker from D. Gray Man. Trust me, it's Really good fan fiction.
There you go.
Lying through my teeth.
Now, did you ever get into fan fiction?
It took me a lot longer, but yes, I did. A lot of my friends went headfirst into that right away, and again, I didn't have the internet, so it's difficult.
So, did you just read, or did you decide you were going to create something?
For fan fiction, no, I just read. I don't write fan fiction, but I did role play a hefty amount on the internet.
Okay.
Yes, so it's kind of like making fan fiction up on the spot.
So, role-playing on the internet, is that through chat rooms? Is that websites?
I went on websites. The first one was Gaia Online, which is pretty much everybody's dark past in the community.
Yes.
It's the dark past.
That or Habbo Hotel.
Habbo Hotel or Neopets, from what I've heard. I wasn't the Neopet kid, but I've heard dark stories from there. It went from doing like long paragraph role plays where you'd write a little novella and everybody would reply on Gaia to live journal and dream with roleplay, which is pretty much like a sentence or two in speaking, and you use icons to make facial expressions, and that shot my writing to shit, and I regret that too.
I was on LiveJournal, and I never encountered any of that.
There's so many communities. So many.
When I was on LiveJournal, it was all, moping.
Journaling. Moping, yes.
Moping about your life.
If you had a personal junior, it's the teenage angst, except for, like, not a lot of them were teenagers, and there was just angst everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Lives were terrible.
Yes. That's why it existed.
Yeah, that's why I left LiveJournal. I was like, wow, the negativity is overwhelming. And then also all of the Russian hacks. That was very weird.
Yeah, once the Russians came in, I kind of tapped away.
Yeah, I just bowed out of that one.
But I have a lot of friends that I met on LiveJournal.
Yeah, no shit.
And it was weird. It was, okay, oh, you're from this, you put your likes, and oh, you like the same thing. And, and stuff like that. And it's weird when you look back. One of the things I love about Facebook is I could tell you where most of the people on there, oh, I met them on this message board. I met them here. I met them here. Oh, you're the one person I know in real life.
Yeah.
Oh, you I used to work with. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I actually did make a lot of friends with the LiveJournal role-playing, where we all decided to go to the Washington Convention Sakura-Con, but we all decided to go as the same group, although we had never met in person.
Right.
So that was very fun. We all got the costumes together, and then we met at the airport, and it was very excited, everyone jumping up and down and screaming. So I go to that one, actually, every year now. So for 5 years I've been doing that. Which is a lot of fun. So I have a lot of friends out in Washington because of the 6-year role-playing board, and since I keep going, I keep making friends. So it's a lot of fun.
Now, when did it get to the point where you would make your own costumes?
That was Firo Prochanezo from Bacano. That was the first time I made a suit, because it was 1930s gangsters that are immortal, and that's my jam right there. So that happened probably junior year of high school, junior to senior. So about 2 years after the first convention, where I tried buying and it just didn't work. But yeah, about junior year.
Okay, so you're still in high school and you're really into this cosplay community.
Yes, this has become my main hobby.
So were you interacting with regular school stuff, or had you kind of just tapped out and said, I don't need to be involved in any of this after school stuff, any of these cliques. I have found my people, and school's just where I go to learn.
Funny story. School was just kind of where I learned, until I founded the anime club.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so first year we had like tops members of like 26. It was just fun, we got together, we talked, we either watched anime, discussed, or like did weird Japanese games, talked about conventions. And then by my senior year, we had 127 members.
Good Lord.
Yeah, we took over the auditorium, so that means we kicked out the theater group out of the auditorium because of us anime kids. We'd come up in costumes, we'd have costume workshops, we'd make plans to go to conventions, we'd do random battles and things like that.
Okay.
So it became my school life. I was known as that anime kid.
Okay.
Or that short anime kid.
Yes.
So that was me.
And you're funding this pretty much by working at a movie theater.
Yes, purely by the movie theater. Hopes and dreams and popcorn.
And one of the things that, when I worked there, first off, I'm always attracted to fellow nerds. Nerd is bond.
Yeah, I saw your Star Trek pin and I knew.
Yeah. Well, and also people found out that I knew comic books, and they would come up constantly to ask me stuff. And I forget who it was. Somebody kept trying to stump me.
Oh, yeah?
With comic book trivia.
I think I remember that.
And eventually I just went, look, I've been reading comics not just longer than you've been alive, but probably longer than you're alive times 2.
Exactly.
I
You're not
also
gonna win.
know comics back to the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to say, well, what's Juggernaut's secret? I'm just going to say, which one? The fact that his power comes from the crimson gem of Kryatak, that he's Professor X's brother, that he has no mutant powers, or that he had a drunken one-night stand with She-Hulk. Which secret is it?
And I love putting nerds down. It's like one of my favorite things. Like in my current workplace, there was a guy from IT who was like, "Oh, I see you like Robin there. I really love Batman." And he started going on like attempting to show off. And I was like, "Oh yeah, which Robin's your favorite?" And then he was just like, "What?" I was like, "Oh, honey,
I've won."
I'm like, "Do you mean Dick Richard Grayson? Do you mean Tim Wayne? What about Jason Todd? What about Damian Wayne, Cassandra Cain, Stephanie Brown?" And then he just kind of like fixed my computer and left.
Yes.
And I was like, "That's right. Walk away."
So as you're getting more into this and you're learning more and more and more, what was the first convention that wasn't in the Twin Cities where you had to go, I need a ride to somewhere else? And how did that go over at home?
Anime Central, which is in Chicago, Illinois.
Okay.
So you can imagine with a paranoid, overprotective mother who doesn't let me leave the bedroom and the basement, how that went over. By which I mean I went, "Dad, it's on your weekend, and I just wanted to know if it's A-okay." And my dad was like, "Yeah, sure. Who are you going with?" And at that point, I was with my high school friends, and we had a caravan that was going to the Megabus.
Okay.
So it was like $36 to ride an 8-hour bus of hell.
Oh, yeah.
And you get there, and then you ride a train, and then you walk a lot, and you get there, and you're fine. But it was great, because it was like, Dad approved it, so Mom didn't have to know about it.
Right.
And then I told Mom about it, but I didn't mention where it was. So I was like, "Well, Dad gave me $20 to spend." And my mom was like, "Well, here's $40, because you have to eat." And I was like, "Dad, Mom gave me $40. And he was like, "Here's $60. I was like, "Mom, Dad gave me $60. So she gave me another $20. And I was like, "Dad, Mom gave me more." And my dad was like, "Shut the hell up."
And of course you had a job, too.
Yeah,
so.
of course I had a job, so you don't want to know how much money I spent there. First time I
I'm
was at
just scared
Chicago,
that you rode the bus, because I won't ride the bus.
I do not recommend the bus. It's great on gas. It's the worst thing for your sanity.
Oh, yeah. You know who rides the bus?
Who?
The homeless, the
Yeah.
indigent,
Yeah.
the haunted.
You're not wrong. And also occasionally really poor nerds.
Yes.
It was great. The first year we rode the bus, it was a double-decker.
Yeah.
We sat on top, and the TV was in front of us, and we were all excited to go. It had been pouring rain. We woke up at 5 a.m., and we were just fucking excited to be there. We brought donuts. We were pumped. And so we were there for like an hour, and the bus finally starts moving, and the bus lurches back, and then you can hear the water running on top of the bus. And then from the TV, this is just after the ring came out, mind you, from the TV pours the water on top of our stuff.
Oh.
And drenches us and our donuts. it was one of those, either you cry or you laugh, so we burst out. And like somebody in the back of the bus is like, "I have a towel." Because Hitchhiker's Guide has not died yet.
No.
And we were saved.
Okay,
So we gave him some donuts. And we were on our way.
Now, as you're going to the conventions here, did you ever sort of move up into running conventions, or did that interest you in any way, shape, or form?
It kind of interested me when Minneapolis started, because Ryan Koff runs a bunch of different conventions. I don't know if you've heard that name.
No.
But,
I just stick to comic conventions, and even then, anymore, I just go to the ones that I'm involved with, because people.
Yeah, people.
I don't want to be around people.
Disgusting.
I often tell the story. I dated a woman once who wanted to do ecstasy.
Uh-huh.
And I said, "Well, I don't know much about that drug. Tell me about it." She said, "Well, what it is, when you take it, you just feel very happy, and you just want to hug everyone and touch everyone, and you want to be close to everyone." And I said, "That sounds like a gut-wrenching nightmare that I would never awake from. Whatever you do, do not put that into anything I eat at any point ever."
Hard pass. I'm not that social a creature. My social tendencies come out at conventions, and then it ends there.
Yes.
That's about it. So my people, I know I'm safe. But
For me, it's the internet, because
Yeah.
it's a social interaction that I can control.
yeah,
It's like, oh, well, you're asking questions that are way too personal. Gosh, you think it'll rain and get the rhubarb wet?
right, deflection. And very, very. I'm very good at deflecting comments, though. So it's a skill you have to develop by being around people. So it's very hard to master.
Yeah, I don't want to be around
Yeah,
people.
don't do it. But for running conventions, Ryan Koff has done it, and that's when I first heard about it, because that's when I started volunteering at conventions besides FallCon. And I had fun, but then I learned more about that guy, and I say that guy with that much disgust, because I won't get into it, but he's not the best guy. He's really good at running conventions, because he's a businessman, but he's not... We question if he has a soul or not.
Oh, okay.
So, but he's good at it, and it just it boils down the system. It seems easier to run, but at the same time, it's never easy.
Right.
So, I haven't actually thought about running a con, but I do go to a lot of cons, and I've debated selling at a con. But that's a whole nother, kit and caboodle.
Okay, and what would you sell?
3D art.
Okay.
Currently, I'm in the ways of crocheting. I make a lot of dice bags for my Dungeons & Dragons friends.
Okay, yeah,
So-
you can always make money off dice bags.
Exactly. I make character themes. I pick the colors out specifically, different designs, and all that hoopla. I also am starting to get learning how to make those dolls, and I can now make ones with cowls. So Batman and Red Robin.
Okay.
I'm just starting. I just don't know how I'm going to want to do hair, because I don't really like yarn hair. It looks dumb.
Okay,
My struggle continues.
yes. Now, one of the big controversies in comic conventions is there are a lot of artists, older artists I've noticed, who get irritated by cosplayers,
Oh yeah.
saying that the cosplayers take up too much room in the aisle, they block tables for artists, and even, some of the jerkier jerks are like, well, they don't care about the characters, they don't care about the comics, all they care about is getting attention. From what you're saying is, you pick your costume based on characters that you love.
Yes. If I identify with them, that's going to be on my body. And then I also, with my acting thing, I'm becoming the character. So if you know nerds, and you know how nitpicky they are with their details, if you're acting as the character, you need to be the character and know everything about the character. So the fact that people are saying that it's not even about appreciating the characters of seasons or the shows, that bothers me to my core. Now, some people, yes, they just do want to get attention, but that's not the majority. Not, the actual people who are behind doing the costuming. But I do understand getting away in the booths. So, but at, anime conventions, you're not allowed to take pictures in the artist alleyway.
Okay.
Where the artists are. You're not allowed to stop. You have to keep moving unless you're going to buy something. So, it's not a problem at anime conventions. So
it sounds like they've got it under control, and basically people who are there need to come over and tell comic conventions how to do things.
yeah, just, hey, no flash photography in the art zone. Kick your butt and keep moving.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, as you're choosing a character, one of the things that I find fascinating when I see your Facebook page is usually it's a group from a show or something, and you've all done it together.
Yes.
Now, first off, are these people that you know here or people from all over?
It's mostly people from Minnesota, but occasionally you're going to see my friends from Washington that I mentioned.
And how do you coordinate that?
Well, generally I go, holy shit, I love this character, this series, and then I whisper to my friend, read this.
Okay.
And then they read it, and they go, holy shit, this other character, though. And I'm like, we should do the thing. And then we generally do the thing. And if we talk loud enough, socially enough, some of our other friends are like, but wait, I like this character. Or,
Okay.
but wait, I like that one. Or, I don't like this one quite as much, but since you're already doing this one, I'll do this one. And then we get together.
Now, is this all put together through Facebook or through some other social
Either
sort of
seeing
thing?
each other at a social event, Facebook, or texting. A lot of texting happens.
Okay.
With my Washington friends, it's all through Facebook. That's
Okay.
where that is. They were getting together this year a Love Live group, which is a group of 9 pop idols singing and dancing. We don't think we're gonna get the dances down since we're not gonna be able to be together, but we're gonna look fabulous
Okay.
in our matching outfits. So we're gonna message each other where we buy the fabric, so the fabric matches too, because that's also important.
Now, you do different characters almost every convention.
Each convention, yeah.
Okay. What do you do with the old costumes?
I would rewear them occasionally, depending if how much work I put into it. From Dramatical Murder, that one we took a long time to make, so I wore it at SakuraCon, and I'm planning on wearing it at Dai Show this year. For our Fancy Dreamers, where we made our own designs from Homestuck, we wore that at 3 different conventions, the bigger name ones, but I will not wear them at the same convention twice.
Okay.
Or I will wear them on a Sunday, where it doesn't really matter, I just want to wear something, but I don't have anything else new to wear. So that's generally where the reruns get due.
And is it always Japanese characters? Have you done any American comic characters? Because I know you have a deep, abiding love of Robin.
I do, but I refuse to cosplay Robin and Kid Loki until I'm a little bit more in shape, because the tights, there are muscles under there, and I am just scrawny white kid.
Okay.
That's what I got, and I'm not quite there yet.
Then I'm going to give you some advice.
Go for it.
When you're looking at different Robins,
Mm-hmm.
do not look at the George Perez art.
George Perez.
Because George Perez is a master of knowing all the muscles.
Oh dear, so the beefcakes.
He was the guy who I learned about how the quadricep muscle works.
Oh yeah.
Because when he draws a character, you can make out, oh, that's the quadricep.
That's really cool.
And he knew how
it bent and moved.
it bent and moved and everything.
Okay.
So it's like, oh yeah, he knows his stuff, and I think they just colored that. I don't think he actually drew a costume.
Tight.
But then again, he's also the one who invented the original Nightwing costume.
Oh yeah?
Which is a nightmare to draw, which is why, like, 5 or 6 years later, they completely simplified it.
Okay.
Because he was the guy who, George Perez is known for detail. And he will put shocking amounts of detail into a costume to where other artists will go, yeah, that character's not appearing in my book. Why? Because I'm not drawing that costume.
That's beautiful and painful at the same time.
Yes.
I love it. But no, I'm actually currently looking at Marcus Toe's Red Robin design.
Okay.
I also am looking at the alternate design of it, because it has the finger stripes, and I'm a fan of the finger stripes.
Okay.
But beyond that, Kid Loki's, he's 12, so I feel a little bit more comfortable that one will probably happen sooner, because I'm a 12-year-old. 12-year-old as guardian, god, but still 12.
Well, the hat's a little simpler than the grown-up Loki hat.
Yeah,
Which is
and also
heavy.
very, very heavy. But I mean, it depends on what you make it out of. I mean, Worbla and things like that, it's like paper thin,
Okay.
very light. Recently gotten into armor making. Had one stint with it so far, but I have so much rolls of it because you have to buy it in bulk.
Yeah.
So
Now, are there places on the internet now that just sell stuff for making costumes?
yes,
Okay.
yes, there are. That's newer. Like I've noticed now, there's like a specific wig site and a specific contact sites.
Okay.
That's what I've noticed. They've also been there's specific ones for costumes made, but we don't recommend that. We don't talk about that corner of the internet. We brush that corner underneath the carpet, and we pretend it doesn't exist. But
is there a thing where, if you buy a costume, you're on a lower level than someone that makes it?
No, not at all, actually. I mean, there are snobs everywhere, but if you, you're still supporting an artist,
Okay.
and that's, a seamstress is an artist, an artist. So I do not fault anyone in that, because art, I don't know.
I think it's interesting that, there's this thing in the anime cosplay community where you have to be a different character, whereas at comic conventions, especially locally, okay, there's the guy who dresses up like Superman.
And there's the guy who dresses up as Batman.
And he's been Superman for 15 years. The guy who's Batman has been Batman for 15 years.
That's
and his
true.
son started as the original Robin,
Oh no!
and now he's Nightwing.
Oh no!
Except there were a few years where the Robin costume didn't quite fit anymore because he'd grown up.
Yeah, that's really cute.
It's cute. Now
Well,
it's kind of, oh no.
Oh yeah, they're ooh no. I actually
You
met
need to become Nightwing now.
we met the Batman one and the Superman at the Source, and we had fun because we all dressed up as casual Robins. We had Dick, we had Jason with his little
Okay.
white hair tooth, and I was Tim. We didn't have a Damien because my little sibling wouldn't come, and
Okay.
we had printed out and ironed on to a T-shirt. World's most mediocre father, and we gave it to him, and his face lit up. He absolutely loved it, and he told Superman to walk away. This is a Bat family thing, and it was so great. Took a picture. He was smiling.
See, those guys have actually put together this huge group,
Yeah.
and they don't just do comic conventions. Any sort of, Free Comic Book Day, they're there. They do all sorts of charity stuff. I did an interview with Scott Nutter, who does a powerlifting thing called Relentless that raises money for the families of kids with cancer.
Huh.
They're tied in with that.
Nice. That's really
And-
cool.
Is the anime group, are they are they looking at doing that sort of thing, or is it just a convention thing?
Well, I know there's conventions, there's photo shoots, and then I think there's some TV show that's terrible about cosplay.
Oh yeah, it's another reality show.
Yeah, and it's bogus, off the walls, totally fake and cheap and not real, and I really hope no one actually watches that show.
Well,
Oh.
somebody watches it because it's on
Yeah.
Sci-Fi, but I doubt it's anybody who's in the community. Kind of like
Yeah.
how Well, I do watch Comic Book Men, but it's funny because I know it's a work.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, for things like that, I don't know a lot of cosplay people who do that. I know my friends and I were going to be trying to get together like a party room type thing. I know a lot of people do party rooms at hotels in conventions where it's like a themed room and they serve drinks or serve coffee or serve cakes. And a lot of those donations go to like charities and things.
Okay.
So my friends and I were thinking about getting together one of those for Tokyo Ghoul. Because Tokyo Ghoul, it's about kind of like half zombies. They're ghouls, but they also run a coffee shop, and it would have been too perfect.
Oh, yeah.
So it would be good. Just red-colored coffee. It's perfectly fine. But I don't know a lot of people who actually do that. I mean, I don't know a lot. I like everybody in the cosplay scene, so perhaps, but none that I know.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And last time you and I got together, we caught up, because we've known each other for 7 years.
When I was a bitty, tiny, just about the same size as I am now. Person.
Yes, young Linden. I have known young Linden for 7 years. Were you a junior in high school or a senior?
That's 2006. I was 16.
We met in 2008. I started at the theater in 2008.
Then I'd be 18, so that would be junior or senior, one of the two.
Okay.
Probably senior.
And I already could sense the nerdiness, especially when you'd walk around like a velociraptor.
Shut the hell up. Yeah, no, that was me. That was definitely me. And then I would read my manga in the box office on weekdays. I don't know if you caught me doing that, but that was also me. And I was reading my Dragonlance novels at Ticket Drop, which is also Dungeons & Dragons. So I reeked of nerd.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think people can tell somehow. I think I emit some sort of sound that people go, oh yeah, he's a nerd.
Yeah, I think so. It's like a high frequency. It's a little buzz. Kind of hits the back of the mind. Yeah, it's there. And also when you're saying toaster oven for Britney Spears' Womanizer, something about that screams not quite right.
I don't even remember that. I just like, I think toaster oven is funny. Mm-hmm. There are certain things that I think are funny.
Yes.
Toaster oven, I always get a laugh from. Monkeys. I think everything's funnier with monkeys.
Oh, my favorite curse word is monkey feathers, so that's fair.
Oh, that's not mine. My favorite curse is rat bastard. And you have to say it that way.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
By the way, this is on the internet, so we can say whatever the fuck we want.
Thank God, because I know I've dropped a couple F-bombs. I was like, shit, am I supposed to censor myself? Because that does not happen.
Oh, we're on iTunes. We just put the little explicit tag and people go, oh, good, I want to listen to that one.
Perfect. I'm helping your ratings. Wonderful. I'll keep cussing.
I listen to a podcast Steve Austin, the former wrestler, does. And he does a family-friendly one, which, you think Steve Austin family-friendly, and you just kind of...
Tilt your head.
And then he does the uncensored one. Mm-hmm. And the fake swearing he comes up for the family-friendly one is worse than the dubbing for Snakes on a Plane.
Oh, no.
And I think the dubbing on Snakes on a Plane is some of the funniest stuff ever.
I actually haven't seen that movie.
Oh.
I've only seen the trailers, and I laughed too hard.
Well, you know the famous line.
Yes. Yes, I do.
The censored version is, that's it. I've had it with these monkey-fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane.
Oh, my God. Are you serious?
Yes.
Somebody said okay to that. Somebody said that that's the one. That's gonna work.
Well, Samuel L. Jackson actually recorded it. Because, you can't say what he said on, basic cable. But now you've sort of, last time we got together, we got all caught up. You talked about how you do skits and role play and acting at these conventions.
I do indeed.
Which is utterly new to me because I can't imagine somebody at a comic book convention going, all right, we're going to do a brand new Superman story here. So let's come up. You're going to be Lois Lane, and I'm going to be Superman. And who's going to be Lex Luthor? You could be Lex Luthor.
You're bald. Come up here.
And we need Beppo the Super Monkey. So get Cory. He likes monkeys. So first off, how did this start for you?
Okay.
And then how big is it in this community?
I can't speak for the whole community, but in Minnesota, it's actually gotten rather large.
Okay.
So it's surprising how large it is here, but it started for me. There'd be like Q&A panels of, you can go see people dressed up as your favorite characters and ask them questions. And then my I had just gotten into a relationship with this man, and this is like 2 months later, and he goes to me, hey, I'm going to be on this panel. Could you come watch me and support me? And I said, fine.
Fine.
At this point, it was for Homestuck, and I had been avoiding this comic for like 2 years because I didn't like the art. And it's like, well, shit, if I go, I'm going to get spoils, so now I'm going to have to catch up in 2 weeks in this thing that's 5 acts long. And now, mind you, Homestuck is now the longest thing in written English history. It's the longest piece of... anyway, it was huge. I got caught up in 2 weeks, and I decided 1 week in, fuck, I want to cosplay it. And now I have 1 week to the convention, and I have to make an outfit. So I did that. But I went there, and I enjoyed the panel, I laughed my ass off, and then the next convention came up in like 3-4 months, and our friend Ashley was like, hey, I'm hosting auditions, and you really like this character, and you were bitching about the last one on the panel, so you know what you want to do, right? And I was like, me, this really stage-shy motherfucker? No, I don't. And then my boyfriend looked at me and said, but remember how much you hated the guy who played the other one. You love this character. And I said, you're not wrong. So, I tried out, and I got the part.
So they have auditions and everything. It's like real acting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's the panelist signs up for the panel, they get the panel, they hear about it, then they open auditions. Now, some people will cast all their friends, but all of my groups that I've been auditioning for, I just audition, and I get in. So
tell me about the audition process. Do they give you like lines? Do you bring in lines? Is it like a traditional theater audition where you come in and go, I'm going to be doing the scene from Glengarry Glen Ross. You put the coffee down. Coffee's for closers.
You stuttered. You're not getting the part, Cory.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. No, what they did was, and what all the ones I've been on have done, is dress up in character, film yourself doing a video, and answer these 2 questions, make it under 5 minutes, go.
Okay.
And generally, and since it's an improv panel, they encourage do not write out your answer first and don't rehearse it, just go. And sometimes if there's close calls, they'll do callbacks where they'll make a Skype call and you'll have to do it on the fly.
Okay.
I've never had a callback because I always just get the part.
Okay.
I'm a little proud. But
now, is this something where you're in competition with like 7 or 8 people, or is it usually just a couple?
It depends on the character, because for the Homestuck ones I was in, I was doing Dave Strider, which is pretty much the poster boy. Everybody wants that kid. So I had a lot of competition, but my boyfriend, who was doing his brother, had generally there was only one other guy.
Okay.
And then my boyfriend was so good at it that no one else started to want to audition because they just knew they weren't going to get it or whatever. So, but I always encouraged competition because I want other people to have fun.
Yeah.
Because it's fun being on a panel.
So, do you have any formal theater training, any formal improv training? Do you do any improv games, anything like that?
Well, in high school I took Intro to Theater, which I flunked out of.
Oh, well, that's good.
I got an A all throughout the class, but then finals day it was doing the whole go up, say what monologue you're doing, you have to do a tragedy and a comedy, and my piss-poor scared child baby self was like, nope, I'm sick, I'm calling in sick for this final.
Oh, okay.
So I flunked on that. I did everything else great, but nope. So, which is why it was so baffling to me to actually audition and then get on the panel. So, and then in high school, a little bit with the anime club, we would do a little bit of improv banter, but not much else. So it was pretty much the panels were really where I've been learning my improv skills on the fly. So, which I don't exactly encourage, but it's fun still.
Not even watching episodes of Whose Line Is It Anyway with the Notebook?
I used to watch it when I was a kid and homesick, but I didn't think this is going to be me. I was just like, these fuckers are funny. But
You're
I was
going,
but
oh, someday I will do scenes from a hat.
yeah, pretty much, exactly. So that was me. It was a lot of fun. For that panel, there was no memorized lines, and it was just a big, broad Q&A. We had staged one thing. It was a rap-off, because the character I was and their brother were 15-year-old white children pretending to be rappers.
Okay.
And there was 2 other ones, and we had to memorize a rap, and then we had a rap-off, and that was fun. But it was only after that we started actually, having skits, and, then we'd have, improv, skit, improv, interacting with audience, improv, memorized dance. That was fun.
Okay. One of the things I noticed, because I'm not as into the world as you are, was that there was a huge boom to the point where you'd go to Barnes & Noble and they'd have half a wall. I know over at the Source they had an entire wall of manga.
They have a small section still. It's still
Yeah,
there.
and now that faded. Toonami went away.
Yep.
And while there was, wailing and gnashing of teeth, it wasn't enough to bring it back.
Yeah.
And now it's Saturday night is Toonami.
Mm-hmm.
They've relegated it to the back end of Adult Swim. I don't see as much manga on the bestseller list in comics anymore. Is there as much coming over? And do you think that maybe as people who grew up on it get older, they're going to go, oh, let's get more of that stuff back?
It's hard to tell you. I know the anime and manga industry took a really big hit with the pirating. That was the main problem.
Everybody takes a big hit with pirating.
But that definitely happened. And it went down slowly, but the fans are still coming in. There's still new people, fresh as always. And I don't know if people are going to fight to get it back. I imagine they would. They do it with almost generally everything. Have you seen the new fashion style recently? It's 90s again, and it's terrible. Everything comes back.
Hey. I loved grunge fashion.
Well, no, I love grunge, but that's not what I'm talking about. It's the really weird patterns and the track suits that swish when you walk. I don't know why these abominations are back, but here they are.
Nostalgia.
Yeah.
So coming up,
Mm-hmm.
what are the big conventions coming up for you?
Well, we are now on the back end. Most big conventions happen in spring and midsummer. That's the big ones. But currently we have Fusion coming up, which I think is in October. Then we have after that, which is a smaller convention. It's on its third year maybe. And then we have Daisho in November, which is in Wisconsin at the Kalahari, which, water park convention, I'm sold. Think about it. You don't have to think about that one too long. There's also one in December I'm thinking about going to because I don't have a lot of winter cons. And most costumes are for winter conventions, yet we wear them in the, 100-degree weather. So, of course, the first time I went to Daisho in November, I wore the Arabian outfit of something where I was open shirt and very short pants, and I was this is definitely a summer costume I'm wearing to the winter, whatever, this is fine.
You didn't think that far ahead.
I did, and I was nah, I want to do this outfit really badly. That's my mantra, this is fine.
Okay.
This is okay. This is fine. But,
This won't kill me.
This won't kill me. But the big ones, so those ones are kind of smaller ones. The big ones that are coming up are actually next year. In February, there's Katsucon, which is pretty much the cosplay convention. And then there's, again for me, SakuraCon in March, April, which is in Washington.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Now, you've talked about setting up a table and selling your own stuff.
I did.
What sort of stuff is sold at these? Because I know at comic conventions, it's mostly comics. And there are some people who bring in videotapes and tchotchkes and comic-related stuff. And there are some people who bring in things where you go, you don't know this audience at all,
I
do
know.
you?
I know. I've seen those. Well, it depends on if you're in the dealer's room or if you're in the artist alleyway. Dealers, those are generally the big, store sellers, and they bring in the merch, the keychains, the backpacks, the DVDs, the swords, hoopla. If you're in the artist alleyway, it's mostly sketching and prints.
Okay.
There are digital artworks. There's a lot of those. That's I'm gonna say 90% of what's sold in the artist alleyway. Then there's keychains and buttons and prints that go along with them that the artists draw themselves. And there's open commissions where hey, I'll pay you $10, you draw me this thing. Really fast. And you get by the end of the weekend. Then there's also people who do wood burning. There's people who do glass etching. There's people who do pencil bags and backpacks and pillows.
So the artists who are there, how often is it that you get some of the actual manga artists to come over? Now, I know that most manga is done by studios, but how often does a convention say, you know what, I'm going to put out money for a ticket to fly someone from Japan here?
Well, I haven't heard of anyone from, drawing manga coming over, but I do know in SakuraCon they got the entire team of Madoka Magica, which I don't know if you've heard of that one. It was really big 2 years ago. It made a huge boom. They got the director, the voice actors, the whole team to come over, and they displayed the first episode, first release in America, showed it at the convention. So, and a lot of at the other conventions, they don't get artists, but they get the voice actors.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah.
So do they do panels? Do they do signings?
They do signings, they do panels, they did How Did I Start, they do Q&As, they do funny stories from this person, and sometimes they do things that have absolutely nothing to do with voice acting, but something they're passionate about, which is also really cool.
Now, do they ever do things on here's how to break into the industry?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
I've been to a couple of ones of those, because I was actually thinking about doing that, but then instead I just kind of went into live improv acting instead.
Okay.
I'm much more physically active, hyper personality-wise, so...
Because it seems that anime is one of the few places left that uses actual voice actors rather than, oh, here's a celebrity who can record this, in his house on an ISDN line, and then we can say, Tom Cruise is in this movie. And all Tom Cruise did is he read the script in his house in an afternoon.
Well, no, that's not exactly it for the anime community at all.
Okay.
So.
Well, that's good, because as I've said, I don't watch as much as I used to because I don't have any time.
I understand
But
that.
I'm still hopelessly hooked on One Piece.
Good.
I adore that show, and I haven't heard those voice actors anywhere else. Because I notice when I hear voice actors, like Maurice LaMarche, one of my favorites, but I can pick him out.
Yeah.
When it's, that's the Brain, that's Orson Welles, that's,
I understand. I can pick out Lelouch V. Britannia's voice actor. I don't know his name, but he was also the Black Ranger in Power Rangers, and he did Ichigo in Bleach, and he did something in Dot Hack, and I've just been sold.
Now, one of the things I find interesting with a lot of anime and manga fans is they don't really move into the American stuff.
And it's such a shame.
And why do you think that is?
Honestly, what it was for me for a long time is with manga and anime, there is a start and there is an end. And you're like, this is what I'm getting into. I hear the summary, I'm going to start in the start, I'm going to finish at the end. And then in comics, you're like, well, everything's connected, and then there's multiple runs, and which ones are even good? And who is that? And why are they interacting with them? So I had no idea where the fuck to start. That was my problem.
Okay, so the whole shared universe thing is kind of off-putting.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And, off-putting, yeah. And then one of my friends was like, you're gonna like Jason Todd. Read Under the Red Hood. And I was like, thank God somebody started me somewhere.
Okay.
And, yeah.
So now you're a big fan of the Batman stuff. What are the current regular American comic books that you're buying?
I am buying Teen Titans. I am buying Red Hood and the Arsenal, which is New 52. I haven't actually started reading it, but I'm in love with Jason Todd, so there's that. I'm reading The Wicked and the Divine. That is really good.
Yeah.
Good. Good. Let me see. I'm reading Phonogram. I'm reading Hawkeye. I'm reading Grayson. I'm reading Lumberjanes. I think that's what that's called. Lumberjanes. Yep. The list goes on.
Okay.
What is it? What's it called? Agent of Asgard. Loki.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Which stem from Young Avengers, which I'm also in love with. Because America and the female Hawkeye, fantastic, beautiful people. It's sassy.
So you're into the characters, and are you starting to follow creators yet?
I'm not. Yes, I'm starting to follow creators because I started with Young Avengers, and then the second installment of Young Avengers was Kieran Gillen, and then they started putting out Wicked and Divine, and I was like, well, this was fucking phenomenal. I bet this is going to be great. And then I started reading Phonogram because he did that too, and that's also just updated again, which has been years, so I'm ecstatic about that. And so I've been following that. I also am trying to stalk Marcus Toe and his artwork, but I have yet to figure out where he went. So I haven't done the Google search, that's really my laziness. But I haven't followed anyone else beyond that besides the artist from Red Hood and the Outlaws. Went over to Teen Titans, which I'm thankful for because its art's beautiful.
Okay.
My boyfriend's pissed because he loves Red Hood more than I do, and he just left Red Hood for Teen Titans, which is where Tim Drake is, which is my favorite.
Okay. So now with manga, do you do that as well? It's, the person whose studio did this, they're doing a new thing, I have to buy it?
I do a bit. It's more I follow the artist and the author, because generally for manga, the artist and the author is the same person. So I did that for Fruits Basket. I was a little disappointed, and then I've done it for a couple different artists, because it's like, oh wait, I really like this art style. I'm going to follow them. And I think Fruits Basket is also just about to put out a sequel, so I'm very excited, because I'm still a teenager at heart. Actually, I'm still probably 5 at heart, to be honest. I'm still in the shoe stop staring at the Sailor Moon shoes, going, I want the cats. So, there's that, but generally speaking, yeah, I do follow the artists there, but they just don't put out a lot of new stuff, so.
So for people who are listening who have never read manga before, can you come up with 5 that would be a good starting point?
No, because it depends on what you're interested, because they're all vastly different. Like, Tokyo Ghoul is trending right now. It's one of the biggest things, but that's also gory, and it's a lot of fighting, and if you're like, you just want teenage romance, that's not going to be the one for you. It depends on what you're looking for. I have like a top 10, and they're all variety.
Let's say I've been reading regular American comics.
Okay.
And I've been avoiding the manga section.
Okay.
Give me a few, because I often talk about Lone Wolf and Cub.
I actually haven't read that one, so
Lone Wolf and Cub, I recommend it because it influenced so many different artists.
Okay.
Matter of fact, if you've ever read any Frank Miller worships at the altar of Lone Wolf and Cub, and when you look at his work, you can tell, he's using these techniques.
So what you're saying is you're going to loan me these books?
There are 28 of them.
So what you're saying is you're going to loan me these books? Fantastic. Okay, well, for somebody coming from the comic book scene, this could just be my bias, but I would recommend Code Geass because it has a lot of the action, has a lot of the intrigue and the intricate plot, and the political struggles.
Okay.
So I would probably recommend that one. It's done by the people who made Gundams, so it's it's mechs, it's fighting, but it's also not just in mechs. So there's that. Beyond that, Naruto's still big, but that's like one of those shameful corners that I look at. Like it's good, and I can't discredit it. It's good, but it's also kind of like the 14-year-old me cries.
Okay.
Yeah. But there's that. So if you don't want to feel shameful, read that in a corner in your room. Big names. Attack on Titan would be a good one.
That's one that everybody seems to be big on.
Yes, that is correct.
And there's a live-action movie coming out, right?
I'm kind of psyched, yeah.
Okay.
The animation's phenomenal. It's fantastic. It's beautiful. The plot's you go into it and you're like, this is great and exciting and thrilling, and I don't know what's going on. And then if you start actually reading the manga, you're like, you start to wonder, but wait, what the fuck is going on? It starts to okay, but suddenly some people are turning into Titans, but where did that come from? But what actually is beyond the wall? But what's in the wall? But wait, why is there a talking monkey? What the fuck's going on?
There should always be a talking monkey.
Yeah, but it's a talking monkey that's as tall as the Empire State Building, so it's very confusing when all the other things that are that tall are just mindless things trying to eat people.
Okay.
So this one fucking talks, and it's a monkey. So what's going on? Admittedly, I'm not current on the manga. I dropped off when somebody got their arm eaten, and I was very devastated. But he didn't die, so I shouldn't be too heartbroken, I guess. Because that's another one of the series as well. Well, this is, a lot of people are going to die here. Fantastic. Love no one, I understand. Become a cold, heartless bitch. Got it.
Yeah, that's how I feel with, Walking Dead.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Do not fall in love with anyone in The Walking Dead because they will die next.
Homestuck, everyone dies. That's not a spoiler, it's a fact.
Yes.
That's it. It's pretty much the entire story. Everyone dies. Get used to it. I kind of walk into any series now expecting everyone to die because of that. I've become desensitized, and it's fine.
Except Hawkeye.
Except Hawkeye.
And then only Grill Guy died.
Okay, but didn't Hawkeye die in one of the Avengers things?
Oh, yeah, but he got better.
I know, but I see, a small part of me is very excited because in the new Ant-Man movie, they had Ant-Man's daughter, Cassie, and Cassie's a young Avenger. I mean, she's fucking 5 in this movie, but I don't care because she's a young Avenger, and what if they made the Young Avengers movies? I would cry myself to sleep.
You're
so
going to have
happy.
to wait a while.
I will. I will be patient. I will wait. Besides, all the other movies so far are pretty good, so I'll be entertained in the meantime.
Okay.
But yeah, but beyond that, for other ranges of audience, I would recommend the Madoka Magica, which is the Magical Girls, which is pretty classic, but if you're oh no, it's just sparkly magical girls fighting monsters, no, a character dies in the 3rd episode.
Okay.
It's darker, it's a little bit more gritty, shit happens. And shit happens bad. And it's nice. If you like that. If you like the drama on the turn, which is a lot of anime, since it's geared towards not children, it's geared towards young adults and adults.
Right.
Which is what a lot of adults seem to misunderstand, is they think it's for kids, or they think it's for perverts, because all they see is Sailor Moon running and fighting and saving the day, or, hentai with tentacles. And they're my child's watching what? It's
I almost feel like the only person on the planet who's never read any hentai, because it's one of those things I don't want to spend money on that.
Internet.
Still.
You don't have to spend money on that.
Yeah, but I still.
Yeah.
You're
not wrong.
It's like in the early 90s when they started doing porn comics. For me, it's well, why would I want to... Unless there's a decent story and it's done by a good artist.
Right? I don't understand, because sometimes if they have an intricate enough plot, okay, pitch it to me one more time.
And there are some people who've done that, like Milo
Yeah.
Manara, European artist. He does adult-themed stories that are around sex, but his art's amazing, and the stories are more than just that.
Exactly. Like, give me plot or get it away from me. I don't care. But that's true for anything I read or watch. Like, either that or it has to be real fucking pretty for me to not notice the lack of plot.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
But a lot of that stuff, it was just, it's Wendy Whitebread, undercover slut.
Yep.
Yes, that's a real comic, ladies and gentlemen.
No.
But Bill Willingham did one that didn't come to an ending. It was it was set in a fantasy realm. In a lot of ways, it was a little like Fables, except with everybody taking their clothes off.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I think we've covered a whole bunch of stuff here.
I think we covered a lot of topics, yeah.
I'm
and I
looking
think
over at the clock. It's like, wow, we've talked for a long time.
Yeah, and the coffee shop's going to close soon.
Yes. This is the first podcast I've done live.
Oh,
with a person.
Live and in public.
Yeah, most of the time I do it in the house so that I don't have to put on,
Pants.
decent clothing.
Heaven forbid.
No, I always wear pants. Joe's the one who doesn't wear pants. I always wear pants.
Well, in my
But
own
it's like
home, I
wear-
refuse.
I wear ratty t-shirts and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. No, I understand. Well, me, as I like to dress very nicely.
Almost as nicely as someone else on the podcast.
No, I don't think so, actually. I'm not coming up with anybody on the top of my head. Oh, well.
There's still one person who dresses better, but, we'll get into that
Another
at a
date.
later.
I'm sure at a later date we can argue, bitch, piss, and moan, and eventually have you lose. But that's a later date. That's a later day. It's fine.
No, we're not turning this into a wrestling promo. I want to thank you for meeting with me here. I want to thank you for talking so much about it. And if people want to contact you to find out more about the costumes you've put together, and if you're selling any of the little things you're creating, how can they do that?
Well, my Facebook would be a good, overall umbrella coverage, which on there I am Linden. My middle name is Euphoria Pompous with a hyphen and then Palmer, because you don't know how many Palmers there are on the internet. So Linden Euphoria Pompous Palmer.
So you're happy about being kind of
A dick.
elitist jerk.
Well, somebody tried to insult me with it, so to therefore rub it in their face, I made it my middle name.
Oh, okay.
I was like a freshman, but I kind of never changed it because I'm pompous. So there it is. Beyond that, my Tumblr would be a very good spot to go. I have my personal Tumblr, I have my acting Tumblr, and then I have my craft Tumblr, which would be where I make the dice bags. So
we'll have links to that in the show notes.
perfect. The personal is Quiet Umbrella. The acting is One Cool Cat with K's like Mortal Kombat because that's bitchin'. And then Crimson Umbrella for my crafting.
I want to thank Linden for finally making the time. We've been trying to put this interview together for months, it seems like. And really kind of introducing me to that world of cosplay and anime and manga fans where I don't know much. So hopefully the interview was enlightening as well. Now, one of the things that we have on podcasts is, of course, commercials and ads. And here are the ads. You may not be able to join the mighty Marvel Marching Society anymore, or even the Friends of Old Marvel, but you can visit our sponsors. Our oldest sponsor is DreamHost.com. DreamHost.com is the best, bar none, web host in the whole known universe. If you need a website, go to DreamHost.com. They will take care of you as they've been taking care of me for over 15 years. If you use the code CRAZY, that's KRAYZ, you get $20 off your first year of hosting. If you are listening to this podcast, you are very good looking. That's right. As a good-looking person, you can't trust your skin to any old razor. That's why you need to shave with the amazing razors you could get delivered from the Dollar Shave Club. Every month, they send a box with your shaving supplies. At the beginning of the week, or whenever you want, you pop in a fresh blade and get that fresh blade shave. It feels fantastic, and it's just one of the many, many ways that you can maintain the good looks that everyone has come to expect from you. And if you join us at the Dollar Shave Club, their plans start at just $3 a month. They have a money-back guarantee, and there is no excuse for you to ever use any other razor. So just go to dollarshaveclub.com/crazy, KRAYZ, to get started. One of the things you need to do this year, you need to get healthy. We all need to be healthy so we can all hang out a lot longer. And one of the ways to get healthy is not to go down to the vending machine and buy those chips or those candy bars or any of the other vending machine snacks. You want healthy snacks picked out by actual chefs who know what they're doing, and you can do that at graze.com. And if you use the code Cory S3R5P, your first and fifth box are free, so you can try it out. See if that's the kind of stuff you like. That's Cory S3R5P. Our final sponsor is Worldwide News. Worldwide News is the story of the lowest rated cable news network and the people who work there. It is updated twice a week by writer Cory Strode. Hey, that's me! And artist Dangerous Dan Moore. Worldwide News at worldwidenews.solitairerose.com, part of the Solitaire Rose family of websites. If you would like to contact us, there are a whole bunch of ways. You can email us at cory.strode@gmail.com. You can give us a call. We have a voice line that is open at all times at 952-856-0519, or you could go to Facebook and join the Crazy Comics and Stuff fan page. If you would like to advertise on Crazy Comics and Stories or on Solitaire Rose Radio, you can. Just send me an email at cory.strode@gmail.com, subject advertising. Thanks. If you have any feedback, I'd really appreciate if I got it. I know I've been doing a lot of different things. I've gotten some feedback on the EC stuff. I got a letter I'm going to read on the next episode because it's about Kirby, and the next episode is Kirby. And I'm kind of sad that I'm getting near the end of doing the Kirby history. But then I think about it, it's like I'm doing an audio biography, and it's going to be over 10 hours. So I find that a little interesting. If you listened to the last episode, you know that I have announced that I will be starting a third podcast in October, the Solitaire Rose Novelcast. And I will be having more information on that as it comes closer. But what I'm doing with it is I'm going to be taking the novels that I've written over the years, kind of getting them into shape, doing a final edit on them, recording them as an audio, and then releasing an ebook as I get each one done, and also releasing the finished podcasts as an audio book as well. But if you subscribe to the podcast, you're going to get the audios for free. One of the things that they always say when editing, which I admit I'm not very good at editing my own writing. I tend to get bogged into endless rewrites to the point where I just put it down and walk away and don't want to do it because I'm rewriting everything. But one of the things they say to edit is to read it out loud. So as I am finishing up the first novel, I'm reading it out loud. So basically the podcast is to help me edit. And when I make the formal announcement, I hope you'll subscribe. It'll be available as a separate podcast feed on iTunes and Stitcher and every place else you get your podcasts, even the weird German site that I don't ever remember sending anything to. While I was not able to really go through with the summer of podcasting, there will be weekly podcasts for the rest of the summer. So coming up next week is the Jack Kirby from 1979 to 1987. There will be another EC podcast, and then as we get into September, I'm going to cut back and do it like every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks because, boy, it's weird when you have a life. You don't have enough time to record podcasts all day long. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for subscribing. I want to thank you for feedback. And I'd really like it if you could tell your friends, point out a couple episodes that you've really enjoyed from either Crazy Comics and Stories or the Solitaire Rose Radio, and just introduce them to it. I want to try and build our readership. I want to try to build our listenership and make this bigger and more fun for everybody. So I want to thank those of you who are doing so, and I'll be back next time with more stories.